We continue. It is page 7 in Michael Eric Dyson's Long Time Coming. I am Mark Stewart, and I'm reading along with you. I have not gone any further. It's time to go together. And for the first time at page 7, we encounter the 4 numbers. 1619. 1619, a date that I'm sure Mr. Dyson is going to be mentioning multiple times. So it is the first year in which African slaves were brought to North America. But it's not the first year of enslavement of Africans. And very importantly, it is probably in the middle of a 600-year rule of enslavement of Africans by Africans. This is discounted far too often, that the white slave ships that brought slaves to some European nations, some Caribbean islands, some colonies, North America being one, were but an adjunct to the many years of decades, centuries even, slave trade and interior slavery that was done among African tribes. And the slavers were the stronger tribes, those Black Africans that won in warfare, and their prize, which was something done worldwide, was enslavement of men, enslavement, often marriage forced of women, rape, if you want to call it that. That was the norm. And though Dyson hasn't done it yet, the other writers in this genre will say this is a white on black phenomenon and it needs to be dismissed. The evils of that time were practiced worldwide and probably more predominantly black on black within Africa. Arabs were very involved in the slave trade, not too much the capture either. They stayed on the coast, stayed on the periphery, and escorted captured slaves to other nations that wanted them. Whites did the same, blacks did the same, but didn't have to take them anywhere because they were indigenous. Later on this page is a strange phrase. I'd never seen it before, called the Blue Plague. Dyson says, the Blue Plague has descended on our communities, the police bringing us terror. Ah, that's the blue he refers to, from the plantation to the pavement. Now, I think he's missing something. A big period. Plantation, pre-Civil War. Pavement, modernity, 1980s onward. But what about the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s in American southern states where the maybe worst predations, because they were illegal as well and never enforced strongly against bad police. Police have routinely been around for good, including the good of enslaved blacks, because look, they were property, but private property owners don't want their property to be killed off or died off unnecessarily. In the Jim Crow South, blacks had no protection from the state because the state was in cahoots with the police that didn't protect African Americans well enough. Blue is generally good. Ask almost any city-dwelling African American, would they like to have more police presence or less? Almost certainly the answer is more. Blue has had some abuses. To call it a blue plague, as Dyson does, is an absolutely unfair attack that will ultimately hurt the very people, African Americans in less protected urban areas, that he, I assume, would like to help. I would like to help. It starts with understanding. Thank you for listening and being on this journey.